The year is 1324. Across the scorching Sahara Desert, a caravan unlike any the world has ever seen begins its journey. 60,000 men march in perfect formation. 12,000 slaves, each carrying 4 pounds of pure gold bars. 80 camels, each bearing 300 pounds of gold dust. And at the center of it all, seated upon a throne carried by his most trusted servants, rides the richest man who has ever lived. His name? Mansa Musa, the King of Kings, the Lion of Mali. This is not just a journey. This is a pilgrimage that will reshape economies, topple currencies, and etch one man's name into history forever. This is the story of how one journey to Mecca changed the world, and how giving away too much gold can actually be a curse. Welcome to the tale of Mansa Musa's legendary pilgrimage. Before we witness the greatest display of wealth the medieval world had ever seen, we need to understand where it all came from. The year is 1312. The Mali Empire stretches across West Africa like a golden blanket. From the Atlantic coast to the edges of modern-day Niger, from the Sahara Desert down to the tropical forests, Mali controls an empire twice the size of modern-day France. But size alone doesn't make an empire legendary. What makes Mali different? Gold, and lots of it. Mali sits on top of some of the richest gold deposits in the known world. While European kings are scraping together coins and melting down church bells to finance their wars, Mali produces nearly half of the world's gold supply. Half. Let that sink in. But Mansa Musa doesn't just inherit a rich kingdom. He inherits an empire built on genius. His predecessor, Mansa Abubakari II, was obsessed with a different kind of wealth: knowledge. Legend says Abubakari became convinced that the Atlantic Ocean had another shore. So convinced, in fact, that he assembled a fleet of 2,000 ships and sailed west, never to return. Some historians believe he might have reached the Americas nearly 200 years before Columbus. But that's a story for another time. What matters is this: Abubakari's disappearance leaves the throne to Musa, and Musa is different. He's not interested in exploration. He's interested in legacy. Musa takes control of an empire that's already wealthy beyond imagination. Gold mines in Bambak, salt mines in Tag Haza, trade routes connecting the Mediterranean to the heart of Africa. Merchants travel for months just to reach Timbuktu, the empire's crown jewel, where gold is traded for salt, pound for pound. But Musa wants more than wealth. He wants the world to know his name. He wants his empire recognized not just as rich, but as powerful, sophisticated, and blessed by God himself. And in 1324, he gets his chance. Every able-bodied Muslim is required to make the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, at least once in their lifetime. For 12 years, Musa has ruled his empire. Now, it's time to fulfill his religious duty. But Mansa Musa doesn't do anything quietly. If he's going to Mecca, the entire world will know about it. Imagine organizing a journey across 3,000 miles of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. No roads, no GPS, no supply stations, just endless desert, hostile territories, and the constant threat of death from dehydration, bandits, or getting lost in an ocean of sand. Now imagine doing it with 60,000 people. Musa spends months preparing. This isn't just a pilgrimage, this is a statement, a declaration to every kingdom from Morocco to Egypt to Arabia. Mali is here, and Mali is glorious. The numbers are staggering. 60,000 men make up the caravan. 12,000 personal servants attend to the king. 500 of these servants walk ahead of Musa, each carrying a staff of pure gold weighing over 6 pounds. Behind them, 80 to 100 camels, each loaded with 300 pounds of gold dust. Do the math. That's roughly 30,000 pounds of gold, not counting what the servants carry, what the soldiers wear, and what Musa himself brings as personal wealth. In today's money, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. Some estimates put it at over 400 million. But here's what makes it truly extraordinary. Musa brings all this gold, not to keep, but to give away. The caravan departs from Niani, the capital of Mali, in 1324. The route takes them northeast through the Sahara, one of the deadliest deserts on the planet. For months, they trudge through shifting sands under a merciless sun. Men die, camels collapse, but the caravan presses on. Musa has planned for everything. Supply stations are established in advance. Water sources are mapped. Local guides are hired. But what he hasn't planned for is the sheer spectacle he's creating. Word spreads ahead of the caravan like wildfire. A king from Africa, richer than anyone has ever seen, is traveling to Mecca, and he's giving away gold to anyone who asks. The first major stop, Cairo, Egypt, and that's where things get interesting. When Mansa Musa enters Cairo in July of 1324, the city has never seen anything like it. Cairo is no small town. It's one of the largest, wealthiest cities in the world, the heart of the Mamluk Sultanate. Its markets overflow with silks, spices, and precious stones from across Asia and Africa. Its scholars debate in grand libraries. Its mosques gleam with marble and gold. But when Musa arrives, even Cairo is stunned into silence. Picture it, the sun rises over the Nile, drums echo across the desert. Then they appear. Thousands of men in brilliant robes, hundreds of camels laden with gold, and at the center, Mansa Musa himself, dressed in robes of crimson and gold, his crown gleaming in the morning light. The Sultan of Egypt, Al-Nasir Muhammad, invites Musa to the palace. But here's where Musa makes his first diplomatic mistake. According to tradition, anyone meeting the Sultan must bow and kiss the ground. Musa refuses. He's a king. He bows to no one except Allah. The tension is thick. The Sultan's advisors whisper. Some suggest forcing Musa to comply, but the Sultan is wise. He sees the caravan, the gold, the sheer power Musa represents. So he lets it slide. Barely. But if Musa's entrance causes a stir, what he does next causes chaos. Musa doesn't just visit Cairo. He floods it with gold. He gives gold to scholars. He gives gold to beggars. He gives gold to merchants. He purchases goods at outrageous prices, paying 100 times what they're worth. He hands out golden trinkets like candy. He commissions lavish mosques and donates enough gold to fund their construction for years. Cairo's markets go insane. At first, everyone's thrilled. Free gold. Amazing. Merchants jack up their prices, knowing this African king will pay anything. Beggars become overnight millionaires. The streets practically glow with all the gold changing hands. But then, something unexpected happens. Gold loses its value. When everyone has gold, gold becomes worthless. Bread that cost 1 gold coin now costs 10. A horse that sold for 5 gold pieces now demands 50. Inflation skyrockets. The Egyptian economy, which has been stable for decades, collapses almost overnight. Historians estimate that Musa's spending spree in Cairo causes the value of gold to drop by 12%. 12%. It takes Egypt over a decade to recover. But Musa doesn't realize the damage he's causing. To him, this is generosity. This is piety. This is showing the world that Mali is blessed by God with wealth beyond measure. After 3 months in Cairo, Musa continues his journey. He crosses the Sinai Peninsula, travels through the deserts of Arabia, and finally reaches Mecca. And there, something changes. Mecca humbles even the richest of men. Standing before the Kaaba, surrounded by pilgrims from every corner of the Muslim world, Mansa Musa is no longer the king of Mali. He's just another servant of God, equal to the poorest beggar beside him. The pilgrimage rituals are grueling. Days of prayer, fasting, walking circuits around the Kaaba. Musa throws himself into it with the same intensity he brings to ruling his empire. He prays until his knees ache. He gives away more gold, this time not as a show of power, but as genuine charity. And then he meets the scholars. Mecca isn't just a holy city. It's a center of learning. Scholars from Persia, India, North Africa, and beyond gather here to share knowledge. Musa speaks with mathematicians, astronomers, poets, and theologians, and he realizes something. Mali has gold, but it doesn't have enough knowledge. Musa decides then and there that he will transform his empire. He will make Timbuktu and other Malian cities into centers of learning to rival Baghdad, Cairo, and Mecca itself. He will build universities. He will commission libraries. He will invite the greatest minds in the Islamic world to come and teach in Mali. But there's a problem. He's run out of gold. Remember all that gold he gave away in Cairo? He literally spent so much that by the time he's ready to leave Mecca, he's broke. The richest man in the world has no money. So, what does he do? He borrows. Mansa Musa, the man who crashed Egypt's economy by giving away too much gold, now has to take out loans from Egyptian merchants just to make the journey home. The irony is almost painful. But if you think this humbles him, think again. On the return journey, Musa passes through Cairo again, and this time he does something brilliant. He buys back as much gold as he can at severely reduced prices. Remember, he flooded the market, so gold is cheap now. By purchasing large quantities, he helps stabilize Egypt's economy while restocking his own treasury. It's a genius move. The Egyptians are grateful. Musa leaves Cairo with his reputation intact and his coffers refilled. By the time he returns to Mali in 1325, the pilgrimage has taken over a year. But Musa doesn't return as the same man who left. He returns with architects, scholars, poets, and a vision. The years following Musa's return mark the golden age of the Mali Empire. Literally, true to his word, Musa transforms Timbuktu into a city of learning. He commissions the Gingreba Mosque, a masterpiece of Sudano-Sahelian architecture, designed by the Andalusian poet and architect Abu Ishaq al-Sahili, whom he brought back from Mecca. The mosque still stands today, over 700 years later. He establishes Sankore University, which becomes one of the most important centers of Islamic learning in the world. Scholars travel from as far as Baghdad and Damascus to study there. The university's library eventually houses hundreds of thousands of manuscripts on subjects ranging from astronomy to medicine to law. Musa doesn't just build mosques and universities. He builds an infrastructure. Roads connect distant cities. Rest houses provide shelter for travelers. Markets flourish under imperial protection. Mali becomes a place where merchants feel safe, scholars feel welcomed, and knowledge flows as freely as gold. But here's the truly remarkable part. Musa's pilgrimage puts Mali on the map. Literally. In 1375, 50 years after Musa's journey, a Spanish cartographer named Abraham Cresques creates the Catalan Atlas, one of the most important maps of the medieval world. And right there, in the heart of West Africa, Cresques draws Mansa Musa. He's depicted sitting on a throne, holding a golden scepter and a golden nugget, wearing a golden crown. The caption reads, "This Negro lord is called Musa Mali. So abundant is the gold which is found in his country that he is the richest and most noble king in all the land." Think about that. A European mapmaker, working in Spain, knows about an African king's wealth so well that he immortalizes him on a map. That's the power of Musa's pilgrimage. It announces to the world that Africa isn't just a source of resources to be exploited. It's home to empires as grand and sophisticated as any in Europe or Asia. Musa rules for another 12 years after his return, dying around 1337. His empire continues to thrive for decades under his successors, though none achieve his level of fame or wealth. But his legacy? That lasts forever. So, what do we take away from the story of Mansa Musa? First, wealth means nothing without purpose. Musa could have hoarded his gold, built palaces, or waged wars of conquest. Instead, he used his wealth to promote education, architecture, and faith. He understood that true legacy isn't measured in gold bars, but in the knowledge you leave behind and the institutions you build. Second, generosity, even when excessive, can change the world. Musa's spending spree in Cairo might have crashed an economy, but it also put Mali on the global stage. People remembered him. They talked about him. They wrote about him. 700 years later, we're still talking about him. And third, never underestimate the power of a story well told. Musa's pilgrimage was as much about narrative as it was about faith. He could have traveled quietly, fulfilled his religious duty, and returned home. But by making it a spectacle, by turning his journey into a story, he ensured that his name would echo through the ages. Mansa Musa, the King of Kings, the richest man who ever lived, the man who gave away so much gold he broke an economy. His story reminds us that true wealth isn't just about what you have, it's about what you do with it. And sometimes the greatest riches are the ones you give away.